Hello everyone, welcome to the Tomb Raider 2 Golden Mask live stream where we're gonna play Tomb Raider 2 Golden Mask, ironically. So today we have Phil Campbell, the lead designer of Tomb Raider 2 Golden Mask. Phil, say hello.
Hello. You heard that, Chris, right? Lead designer, right?
I assumed you were. We also have Kris Renkewitz, who did some of the levels as well. Kris, say hello.
Hello, everyone.
Did you do anything else other than a few levels?
Yeah, I did some texturing with Rebecca, and then, well, I famously designed the golden mask, which I never got one of, but Phil's got one. He's got a golden mask. I never got one.
Oh, there's Ash.
You know,
Have a look at this.
Oh, he's going too?
Oh my God,
what is that? I don't have one of those.
Okay,
I designed that stupid thing.
Okay, terms and conditions. Okay, Chris, calm your tits. This is not real one. It's a 3D printed one. Unfortunately, I could not find the real one, so this is a fan made. And that brings me to our last guest for today, but not least, Rebecca Shearin, the texture artist. Hello, Rebecca.
Hello, very nice to be here.
Phil, Melnikov Island is a fictional island, but the map is the kind of real Aleutian Islands map, isn't it?
I was on a Melnikov obsession because he was a Russian architect, and I obviously was an architect. So when we went to Moscow, and it was then called Leningrad, but St. Petersburg, we used to stay up all night drinking with the Finns, vodka, and then we'd go to bed at 6 in the morning and then get up at 7 to do architectural tours. And Melnikov was a big feature of that, and it became like our code word. We'd greet each other with the statement Melnikov.
Phil, this is probably for you because since you wrote the story, what's the purpose of Avalanche and why are they after the Golden Mask in this?
Well, Avalanche was only invented to be the world's longest acronym. To be honest with you, I have no idea what it means. It was just an excuse to build a whole bunch of levels. And so I think that I was kind of into Russia at the time and the Cold War and spy novels and things like that. So
my grandpa was in KGB, just so you know.
My mom was in MI6, so now we're going to be in trouble. Yeah.
What is the main influences, inspiration for the Golden Mask levels?
Did you have any inspiration, Chris? I don't know.
No, we were just making things that were cool. We wanted to do a couple things. We definitely wanted to do outside stuff, remember?
Yeah, that was our big trademark, right? That we did more outside stuff than anyone.
Right, we wanted to do some sort of rivery waterfall thing, and it just kind of defaulted that it was going to be gold, right? Because of just the golden mask. And then we wanted to do the big giant room with the pillars. We were just trying to kind of connecting those levels, and then you were kind of crafting the logic behind the story around that. One
of the big issues we always had, Ash, was fitting all the textures on, the limit of textures. Mm-hmm. And I remember, for example, what would you waste a texture on, right? So in the Lost Artifact, for example, we had to set aside some textures for Nessie. Oh yeah, here's a tricky one, Rebecca, and it has an arrow. I thought I was going to lie yesterday and said, well, that shows Lara where to go, but it doesn't really.
But this is where I think Rebecca, well, we think anyway, Rebecca took the wording from, because it basically means of yours and save, which on their own may mean nothing, but the poster, which you can see on the top right corner, means make sure to preserve your weapons or any military equipment, so it doesn't fail in the combat. That's what it means. So
that would have been good, Rebecca, if you'd done that.
Yeah, I did that purposely,
This one, you're supposed to be able to see a monk and a guy here, just coming up the side. Oh no, it's a leopard. Oh yeah, and you see him coming, which is another one of those foreshadowing tricks that we always like to do. But I think we were always relatively fair. I mean, you had to really stage it based on what weapons you thought that the average player would have. So I think, for example, at the start of the next level, you get the Uzis pretty early. But in this level, the philosophy was always put these weapons in a secret place, and if someone could get them, then great.
I got an interesting question here regarding the Golden Mask. What was the inspiration? Why does it resurrect dead?
I'm sure it was based on something Inuit, some legend. I can't remember the process, Chris, how I ended up with with it being that artifact.
I mean, the mask itself, I made up off of that. There was an image we got from a museum, and then I modified an old face shield or something and turned it into the bent and kind of deteriorated mask.
There's Melnikov. That's supposed to say Melnikov.
But it doesn't. It actually says Meg. Yeah, the third letter doesn't exist in Russian alphabet. There is G, but it's another way around. So if you flip it, that's G. So it will be Megnikov.
Rebecca? I only asked for Melnikov.
It kind of works.
Oh yeah, what's that? What's that say, Rebecca?
I have also Rodea Party Communism. It does look like it, which means Homeland Party Communism, which does sound similar.
Would be right,
to what Soviets would say.
It was prescient, and it says at Tomb of Ash.
Tomb of Ash did not exist at the time. Was there any particular reason why the Medipacks have green symbol on them? Because in base game they're actually red.
I thought we couldn't use the red one because it was like the Red Cross symbol. Yep. Wasn't there some issue about that?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
I do. Yep.
That makes sense.
There was word of it, so we just said, screw it, let's just make it green. We didn't care. There was some kind of something happening that potentially was going to backfire and do it.
Oh, that makes sense. Because in the later games, they all changed them to green as well.
This is where we had those issues with what textures to use, and I think changing the mood and the atmosphere during a level is really hard to do because it uses up all that space, doesn't it, Rebecca?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so right there's a big J on the wall.
What? You never told us that. I wonder what that stood for, huh?
What is it? Where? I don't see it.
Go forward.
I see it now.
Yeah, there's a big J right there.
J supposed to be for?
I'm not gonna say. And to the left of it, I think right there's a heart.
No.
There's a heart on the wall. There's a heart.
Never seen it.
After 25 years or whatever, I never ever noticed that.
How did you, Phil, Kris, Rebecca, first decide that game development was something that you were interested in?
There was no game development when we got interested in it. That was the thing.
I know. This was some of the first like 3D, and do you remember I came on board, I got headhunted out of architecture because at the time in like 96, 97, everybody wanted architects, right? Because they knew they were going to be building 3D worlds.
I came into it because of the artwork. I had a degree in illustration, and it was a good way to get to use my degree without having to be a freelance artist, which I could never have done.
So I drew comic books for Marvel and DC before I got there, and I put an interview in I put my resume into two places, Shiny and Domark. So, and I had computer experience from high school and stuff. I had a little Apple IIc, but I mean, come on. I never touched Photoshop until I met Rebecca.
What do you think about AAA games aiming for realism rather than the style?
You two are the artists, but I think it's got to be done with realism and style. I mean, you look at Wes Anderson, you look at so many movies nowadays, movies that have a very distinct art style, they're also so-called realistic because they're real. This just has a charm to it that is hard to repeat.
But yeah, the new games, while they look great, they are basing it heavily on reality. This is based on gameplay and making something look cool with the limitations.
If you're in this world and it feels like a real place because of the lighting and maybe the color choices, the stylization, I think you can create a more special place than just having everything look realistic.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, this is a level with the endless cage.
Yes.
I
remember this.
Do you remember constructing this, guys? I remember this was a complete nightmare to design. I'm amazed that I didn't do it on paper because it's really complicated. What are you wearing, Ash? That's excellent.
Matching. We're matching. It's me. I'm playing as myself.
I definitely put in, there it is, it's like a cleavage line. See it? You can see it from certain angles. That was something that we had to change because I did a lot deeper than that.
Really? But she has like in Tornado 4, she has it much worse. Was it supposed to be Lara dreaming? Is that right?
No.
I thought it was. I thought that was part of that cinematic, remember? Because the cinematic, she wakes up and then it ends on the Empire State Building with King Kong in the end of the cinematic. I'll have to look at exactly the pacing of it, but we spin around her and then in comes like a King Kong hand or something to turn the TV off.
I don't even remember the cinematic idea.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's just one of these endless block areas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you like them blocks, don't you?
I do like. I enjoyed the one in the Shadow of the Cat where you had to move.
Yeah, where you have to move for like half an hour.
and people get a good sense of accomplishment when they do that, I think. So
true. That is true. Can you tell us the story about CNET? Why there's a CNET van in here?
Yeah, it was a pathetic attempt for IDOS at doing some advertising. I think they agreed to do a review or something. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Kris and Reb, if we put the logo in. That's another of those single-use textures. It's maybe used twice, but the thing I don't remember, Kris, is building these constantly and putting a lot of work into it. But I did no drawings of it. I just built it, right? And so how the hell did I figure out all these routes and paths? And I still can't figure it out to this day because our time was so limited. Everything is just hardcore building.
Well, you would go ahead and build an environment like this one room, and then we'd play the heck out of it and constantly hammer on it. And then you'd go away. Maybe I'd tweak it, maybe I wouldn't, but then we'd think of what would follow next to it. And again, it was like kind of like that. We would transport from a location to another location, even inside of the same location. So there were like sub-locations inside of locations that you could just build that room and play the hell of it. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Now connect something to it. Okay, what is that room like? So that's kind of how I remember us doing it.
Is there any final words from you guys? What do you think watching this so many years after? What are your feelings? It's very interesting to see.
I have to say, I think it held up pretty well over time, given the, simplicity of everything, that the limitations we had then. And then just on a personal level, I have to say it's one of the best jobs I ever had working with these guys. And
yeah.
Wow.
I would say that we didn't know how lucky. I keep saying that over and over, but we didn't know how or to be, and when we didn't want to be left alone to our own devices. And now I've realized that through a career of this, that being left alone for 3 months and just doing it was like it's core indie developer stuff, really. And that's kind of how we felt.
I have to agree with the two of you that, we were kind of lucky at the time to be doing what we were doing, and we happened to get along extremely well. Look, we were friends outside of work, during work. I mean, we still are friendly today. So like those kind of moments, we were in the industry at the dawn of this industry.
Well, thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your Monday. Thank you so much for coming up to talk to us about this.